Hello and welcome. This is Kerry Rowett of Awaken Kinesiology and alignandattract.com, and I'm the author of the book alignandattract.com, which you can buy pretty much anywhere online. So just briefly, the Align and Attract course that I teach, which you can find at alignandattract.com, it's all about helping you to get into alignment and to create the kind of business that you really want to create. That's really aligned to your values, your priorities, your vision as well. And I help you to figure out what your vision actually is. And we also align to your ideal client. I teach you how to align to your fees, your income goals, and to attracting the number of clients or participants that you would love to be able to attract. And I do that through this unique process that I created back in 2011. I call it the alignment process, and I teach you how to find what your specific blocks are and how to shift them yourself in your own body so that you can create more of what it is that you actually desire. And I mean, it sounds great, but it actually works. That's the most important thing. And that's why I've been teaching it now for like 11 years. So as you can see, I've got somebody else with me here today, and that is Bryony Montgomery. I'm going to introduce you to her a little bit more in a moment. She's here as a case study for us because she's been through Align and Attract, created this incredible business, next iteration of her business after that. Before we speak to Bryony, I'm going to just talk to you about what do you do with business alignment when you feel like you have gone way off track. And of course, there'll be many people who are feeling like that this year, 2020, whether or not your business has been hugely affected because you normally work with people face to face, whether that's in workshops or whether it's a clinic or a studio, or whether you're online and your business has been maybe less affected, but maybe your clients have been affected and that's been the impact. I think for many of us, there is this sense of like, okay, there's been all this disruption, been all these changes, and now what? And it's this question of like, what is it that I actually want in my business now, and how am I going to move forwards from here? And that does not necessarily have to come from a negative place either. Like, I know for myself, my business has been online for years now. My business has not been hugely impacted by what has happened in 2020, but I've been immersed in the world of having very small children for the past few years. So I am actually realigning my own vision at the moment and spending a lot of time behind the scenes, not so much talking about it publicly, but really thinking and reflecting and talking to people about what do I really want? What's the next level of my aligned business? And when you get into it, it's a really exciting place to be. So if you have felt stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, fearful about what has been happening or where you're at with your business and so on, I'd really invite you now to get into this space of possibility and of forward motion. It's like, this has been what it's been. Where am I now? And how am I going to move forward? So I'm going to offer you two tips to kickstart you on this process. The first one is to start to give yourself the permission to find your own clarity. And what I'm talking about with that is to start asking yourself some really great questions. So what does a really aligned business look like for me now? Where I am now, my life situation, my circumstances, my priorities, the amount of time I actually have, the type of work that I really want to do, the balance of whether that's one-to-one, groups, courses, etc. Just really starting to ask yourself, is what I have been doing what I want? And what is it that I really do want now moving forward? That's not necessarily going to arrive instantaneously, but what I said was to give yourself the permission to start to find clarity. So to start going, now I'm in the process of finding clarity, really putting that frame around it. So starting to write and really reflect and to really start to dig into what is it that if I could have anything, or if I could create from this place right now, what is it that I would really want to create? So as well as writing it down, I recommend you start to voice it, because as you voice it, you're going to get, you guessed it, more clarity. So I would, if you're not already, I would connect with some of your business buddies and say, hey, I am starting to figure out what an aligned business really looks like for me at the moment. How do you feel about jamming around this or talking about this? So the way I personally do this, I've got a number of business friends that I speak to. None of them are where I geographically live, so don't worry if you're in lockdown, it wouldn't be affecting this process for me. And I use like Voxer or WhatsApp, or just talking on the audio notes on my phone. So I use it. Different people like to work different ways, or Instagram chat. I've probably got 6 different ways I might talk about this topic, depending on who it's with and their preferred mode of communication. And we bounce backwards and forwards. And as you articulate what it is you want, what it's you're focusing on, where your goals are at the moment, of course, you just naturally ask each other questions. You naturally say, oh, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about, like, I see you working more with groups, for example, or have you thought about creating such and such? Or, have you looked at your pricing lately? It feels to me like it's too low. So as you start to connect with these people, you can bounce off each other, and that will actually start to invigorate you as well and help you to create the clarity. So that's my first tip. Clarity. The second tip is to start thinking about aligned actions that you can take. So of course, there's always tons of different actions that you could be taking at any particular time. We want to choose the actions that are most aligned and most likely to lead to the impact and the outcomes that you actually want. So if you have read my book, Align and Attract, the character in this book, Anna, she goes through this, and she has all the different ideas like we all do. It's I could write a book, or I could do a podcast, or maybe I just create another webinar. Maybe I create this course. Maybe I do this, maybe I do that. So there's always going to be lots of different ideas. Maybe you just list them all out and then come back to your priorities. Come back to your goals at the moment, what you're wanting to create right now, and say, right, well, which of these actions is most likely to have an impact on what it is that I'm wanting to create. So for example, it might be that you love the idea of creating a podcast, or you love the idea of writing a book, but then you come back to your goals and it's my number one goal at the moment is to increase my cash flow. And then you go, well, hey, I can cross those 2 goals off my list for now. I can park them. Doesn't mean I'm never going to do them, but they are not going to have this really immediate impact on that goal right now. What is? You go back to your list, right? So thinking about your aligned actions is my second tip. And then of course, taking them. So now that you've got, set up with your business buddies, sharing your aligned actions, and then even giving yourself a bit of a deadline on some of these things. By next Friday, I'm going to have done X. By, dates, if they work for you, if hard deadlines work for you, and often they do, because they mean you just actually have to execute and just figure it out. So as you can see, we've got Bronnie here with us. And the reason why Bronnie and I are talking today is a couple of years ago, Bronnie did join Align and Attract. And at the time she joined, she's extremely experienced, talented at what she does, all of those things, but did not feel like her business was functioning the way that it needed to. It just was not feeling aligned. So Bronnie, what I would love you to do is just to introduce yourself and just to let us know then where you were at when you first joined Align and Attract.
Thanks, Kerry. So I'm Bronnie Montgomery. I'm a body worker, a healer, a teacher, and a life coach. And so when I joined the Align and Attract program with Kerry, I was at a point where I'd been 9 years in my business online and offline as well as a healer, but I was kind of not feeling aligned with where I was actually heading. It kind of felt that my passion wasn't there. I felt very unsure about what the next step was. And I just had this sense rising in me of that there was a lot of blockages and a lot of fears that were holding me back from actually really stepping out and being seen and showing who I am and what I'm here to do. So just like this stirring underneath that kind of led me to Kerry's work. And it was a real catalyst for me to be where I am 2 years later. So, yeah.
Oh my God. And you have to tell us a bit about that then. So that's where you were, and then what happened?
Okay, yeah. So when I joined the Align and Attract program, because I do a lot of embodiment work, so I need work to be not just in my mindset, but also in my body. And what I found with Kerry's work was that I was able to track my things that were happening in my body, and then I was able to move them through and release and move into a deeper space with those blockages, and then start to apply, really get myself really intentioned and clear, and move myself through those energetic blocks or those physical blocks at times, you know, that were lodging in my body. And then I could get really clear what I wanted to do, where I was going, and I kept having this, you know, I just wanted to be really clear on my dharma, on what I was here to bring, my unique thread to the world. And I just, because I'm a very, you know, I have a lot of a presence, and so I was always afraid to show that. And so I was able to start to look and start to feel into how it would feel for me to be in a situation where I was more visible in my work and who I am as a, you know, as a healer and a body worker.
Which is then what I'm hearing there is like, that is like the alignment was for you, is actually almost like you allowing yourself to rise up to that potential that you were feeling and that dharma, rather than like seeing the dharma, seeing the potential, seeing what you really felt like, you know, you're here to do, but then just going,
yeah,
it's too much, it's too hard, or I don't know how, you know, allowing the mind to block. Is that correct?
Yeah, completely. And what I found is that when I was looking at, you know, the dharma, and when I was looking at the energy or the space that I wanted to get to, felt so big. And so to move into that and to take a multifaceted kind of, it was too much. And so that's what was delaying me moving into that space. So I was able then to break it down with the Align and Attract program. I was able to break it down in manageable chunks that could keep me really still clear and walking intentionally through the blockages and fears that I had, and then but still keeping that focus on that big picture of, you know, moving towards embodying.
I love what you're describing, and I think people who are listening are going to really relate to this, because I've heard it, I don't know, maybe hundreds of times over the years. People who are just like, I have this big vision, but it can just become a total sabotage, because the vision feels so big. It's almost like either what's the point because I'm nowhere near it, or it's too hard, or, you know, it's overwhelming me just being able to see this big vision. And then it's like, doesn't integrate. It's not grounded. And then, like you said, it's like the actions that you're taking are not even aligned with moving you towards that. So that's sort of what I'm hearing from you, is like through moving through Align and Attract, you're able to actually create more of a bridge between where you are now to where it is that you see yourself moving to.
Yeah, I could keep my steps very aligned. And because I do a lot of grounding practice anyway, the grounding kind of, you know, you need other tools, you know. I've been a healer now for 20 years. I've been in the work for 15. So you need other tools, and you need other things to keep you moving, you know, in that, and it's intention. It comes back to that core, that center axis of just remaining really integral in that, and then making sure that everything that you're doing is aligning with that intention, with that core, you know, sense of who you are, of what you're birthing, and what you know innately that you need to bring into the world.
Yeah, totally. And I think you're absolutely right. And I do honestly believe that is what Align and Attract allows participants to do. And I think that's why I've been able to keep on teaching it for so long, because it's just got that at the heart of it. It's just got that real truth and integrity, no matter what stage of business you're at. So I want you to tell us where you are now, because since you've done Align and Attract, you've actually birthed a whole new body of work. And which is just so beautifully aligned to you, and you're really becoming so visible with it. So please talk about that now.
Yeah. So originally 10 years ago, I birthed Women's Inner Wisdom. So it's kind of very a similar thread, but it's more niche. It's more very specific to who I am and my own experience. So what I've birthed is called the Mother Way, and it's been an accumulation of 20 years of personal and professional experience with healing my mother wound, a wound that I identified back probably pre my mother dying 20 years ago of cancer. But my mother died of cervical cancer at 42, which is the year that I am now. And my grandmother had died around the same age of cervical cancer too. And so I kind of saw that there was patterns in my mother line and in my ancestry line that were broken, there was trauma and abuse. There was lots of things kind of going on there. And there was a pattern of disease that was not medically hereditary, but was clearly present in my bloodline, in my mother line. So after my mother died, I went into a great space of grief and brokenness, and I identified that we'd had a codependent relationship and that there were pieces of me missing. So when she died, I had lost essentially my innate core of who I was. So I actually went and I enrolled into college, and I started to learn the physiology of disease, the energetic components of disease, of emotions, of the body. And I started to learn to be a massage therapist, aromatherapist, energy healer, Reiki master. And that kind of started me on the track to creating a roadmap of healing my mother wound, because there was no 20 years ago, there was no one in that area doing any of that work. So I had to pave that way for myself. And so then I had kids 13 years ago, 4 children now. And then I started again with developing that roadmap to fit in with the unmothered mother, the mother who doesn't have that sense of who she is, or that mother there through various different reasons, or even that connection to Mother Earth, because the mother wound is also a connection to the earth. It's essentially a connection to your innate sense of who you are, the core components of who you are as a woman, what makes you unique, that kind of internal flame that burns inside of us. So reigniting that flame is what the Mother Way is, the roadmap to healing and reestablishing who you are in the world. And that sense of because we live in a culture that's a death mother culture, where it's talks of the fact that we need to be different, or we need to change to fit in, and so we need the parts of us that are different to die or be exiled. So it's the Mother Way is bringing those exiled parts back into an embodiment, into an aliveness, into our everyday, and coming from that internal flame and living from that internal flame of that we're enough as who we are, that we're worthy, that we have something really valuable to contribute to the world, in every aspect of our life, So, and especially as unmothered women, and unmothered mothers, we need more pathways of acceptance and more looking at the shadow side of what it is to mother, what it is to be a woman, what it is to birth something that's really kind of uniquely yours into a world that wants you to be a little bit smaller, a little bit less of what you really are. So the Mother Way is the passage that I've just birthed, is the new way, and it still kind of holds women's inner wisdom as the heart, as the woman as the heart and soul of her community and family, and her wellness is primary for everyone's wellness, but it really brings it down into my own personal story with healing my mother wound, and also, as a mother myself, and finding a passageway to mother my children without having that guidance of my own mother. So I'm actually birthing, I've got a free series that's coming up on the 8th of September. It's a 4-part free mini series running from the 8th to the 11th. And this is where I'm going to unpack and share my experiences, what the mother wound is, how you can transform those feelings of not enoughness, or, not feeling worthy, or persistent inner conflict and self-doubt into, joy and freedom, and a sense of, that you are worthy, that you are here to contribute something that's really, that's really needed in the world right now.
So tell me, how would I think this sounds amazing. I'm sure there's just so many people listening who are just like, yeah, this sounds great, I'm going to sign up. But how would I know, like, I need to sign up to this? Like, what kind of signs will I be seeing in my life?
Yeah, what kind of sign? Will you be feeling? You'd be feeling fear. You'd be feeling an overwhelming sense of what's going on in my life. I can't seem to get any traction. I can't seem to get, nothing seems to be working. I feel that I keep hitting walls, or a glass ceiling is kind of what I kind of envision a lot. You know, I want to break through. I feel small. You know, I'm not really feeling very good as a mother, which is a massive one. I don't have any support. I'm feeling isolated.
Maybe feeling a bit undernourished, would you say as well? That's sort of what I'm hearing. Like, you know, that real mothering feeling like that we all hope our children experience, of just feeling really cared for and loved. So if you're not feeling that yourself, could be a sign that this would really benefit you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That sense of, of the mother holding and guiding, and not being able to find that in your life, or have that physically present in your life, or find that within yourself, is an indication that you have a mother wound.
Amazing. So could you tell us where we can find this work? And of course, we'll share a link to the free course that you're going to be teaching. So yeah, just explain to us where we can find it so we can learn more.
Okay, so I've got a Facebook page on the Mother Way, and so there's some information there. But I've got on my website, which is www.bryonymontgomery.com. There's information there around the wound and this free series as well, which is launching on the 8th of September. And I'm taking registered interest now. I'm super excited to share this work. It's the intro into the Mother Way course, which will be the 12-week live course. And circle work I'll be doing with women that starts on the 22nd of September. So to jump into the intro course, the mini course, go to my website or my Facebook page, The Mother Way, register your interest. We start on the 8th of September, and then you can get a taste for what this wound is and how it's showing up in your life, how you can heal it. Really practical, everyday, kind of no fluffy ways, kind of very
what I love as you're expressing this, and I can hear this and I can see this in your energy online, is, and you touched on before, this is something you weren't feeling before, is just this sense of like embodiment, passion, and also visibility of just really shining your light around this.
Yeah. I think that's what's helped me with the Align and Attract. It was just having that tools and support to step out and show myself. I have a passion, I have a fire. I am the unmothered woman who never felt like she was enough, or actually too much, and I had to kind of put some of that in the closet. And now I've been working, for the last couple of years, really, it doesn't feel like that much, really intense. I'm like, 2 years ago, how can that be even possible? I'm bringing that out of the closet, bringing those exiled parts of me back into my everyday, into who I am as a woman, and showing and not being afraid to show that, and kind of guiding other women, because I just really feel as women, every time we show up, we're showing up for every single one of those women who are too afraid to show up, or the ones that are showing up and just need that extra support. Because if we're all, it's not even just me, it's for every woman, and every child, because it's paving the way for a new future for the globe. So I
absolutely love that. And I just think, like, what an advertisement you are for Align and Attract, of just like really having felt the way you did, and then the way you've been able to transform that, and then all of us can just see the way you're able to just talk about what you're doing with such passion, such clarity, and it's just so obvious that it is what you are born to do, and that you're really going to be able to work with so many people and help them transform their lives. And I think for people like us who are so heart-centered and have this sense of purpose and passion, I think that's a true inspiration. So thank you so much for joining us. Please take a look at The Mother Way, and also take a look at Align and Attract. And we just really appreciate you joining us for this conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kerry.